As always, on my blog, you'll find all the resources shown in this video, such as code snippet and the link to part 1, where we set up the payload project itself. This is what you can expect. It is 4 small code snippets and they are very simple. I'll make sure to leave a link to this blog post in the video description. Now let's move on with the actual video. Hello everyone, welcome back. In the previous video, we launched the payload website builder template on Railway, and we also set it up locally. And at the end of the video, I showed you a very limited customization. We removed the welcome guide on the admin dashboard, but I also promised you that in the next video, we would be doing a little bit more complicated customization, and that would be adding a comment section to our website. So I have the website just as we left it last time, except I have implemented the comment system. So before we get started, I'll just show you what that looks like. So if I scroll down the page and find the post section, and I go into one of the posts, and we scroll through all the article, and at the bottom we find the related post, and now if we scroll further, this here is the new comment section, and there is no comments yet, so let me just add one. And I'll submit the comment, and we get a little confirmation that it was submitted, but we don't see the comment here yet. And this is by design, because if it would just show up, I would be worried that bots would spam your website with all kinds of advertisements to crypto scams and whatnot. So this comment first has to be approved by an admin. So let's head over to the admin dashboard. So I am now at the admin dashboard, and you see I have another section here that wasn't there last time, and it's the comment section. So if we click into this one, you can see here that there is indeed a comment, and under the is approved, it says false. So if I just click on this one and then I tick the approved checkbox and click save, and we get a confirmation that it was updated. Let's head back to the post. And let's refresh the page, and we now see John Doe's comment appearing on the website, which is what we wanted. All right, I'll take down this server that the implementation is already finished in, and then I will see you in VS Code for the actual implementation. All right, we are now back in VS Code exactly where we left at the end of the last video. And the first thing that we need to do to get our comment system up and running is to create a new collection, and that would be the comment collection. So if you expand the source folder and you find collections, then we need to add a file in here. comments.ts. And if we head over to the payload documentation, they do have like a little template here for a very basic collection. So I'll just copy this to my clipboard and I will paste it in, and then we'll rename it because this is for post and we are working with comments. So the slug will be comments, const name will also be comments. And then we need to change the fields because this one just have a title and we need a little bit more. So the first one will be the content. Then we need another one, and the other one is author. So this is who is writing the comments. And this is not a type text, this is going to be a group. And the type group also has a fields, and you can see here my Copilot kind of knows that, so it can actually pre-fill for me. And this is pretty much what we want. We want a name and an email. So these 3 fields that we have here now is the visual representation in the user interface that the comment form will be built up of. There is the content of the comment and the name input and the email input. But this is not exactly enough, because if we were to input this type of comment, then where would it show up? So we need to relate it to a post, so it only shows up on the post where the comment was created. And this type is a relationship. Let's see if Copilot can autofill for us. Relation to post, that's correct. All right, so here is our ultra simple comment collection, and we'll add more complexity to it later, such as validation on the input fields and this approval system that I was mentioning. But let's just add this to the project as it is now. So if I go over to our payload config, scroll all the way up, then we need to first import it. So I will import comments and I'll put it to clipboard because we need to add it a little bit further down. So you see here we have a collections list and it does not have the comments yet. So we need to add it here. And I'll hit save and we should see some database pulling schema. Yeah, it's pulling the schema and I think it's finished. So if we head over to the admin dashboard and we now see we have a comment section in the collections and it just appeared out of nowhere because we have the hot reloading on when we are in development mode. So let's just see what it looks like here. There is nothing. And if we create one, we can see that we do have the fields and the post is relating correctly because we see all the posts that we currently have in our system. All right, this is good. But if we head over to the actual landing page in another tab and we scroll down, find a post, and we scroll all the way down to the bottom and we see absolutely nothing here yet. So a lot of things are auto-generated when you create a collection in Payload, but the comment form is not one of those. So we need to create a React component and then we need to add it to the end of the page. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, back in VS Code, and this time we are going to take a look in the components folder. This is where we are adding new React components. I'll create a new folder and call it comments. Then I will create an index tsx. All right, here we have an ultra simple React component. Let's try to add that to the post page. So I will find app frontend post slug page, and then we'll import it right here. I'll hit save. Now let's go back to our landing page. And we now see that the comment section show up correctly here. So that means that we have added it correctly to the post page and we can go ahead and start building the actual React form. All right, let's go back to the components. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is give it some props and that will be the post ID. And we can also go ahead and add the post ID from the post page because we have it here. Okay. Let's load from this page all the comments that already exist. So first we get our payload and then we use the find function. And then we look up all the comments. And I'll just rename this to comments. This needs to be async. And we need to import the get payload from payload. And then we need the config promise. Yeah, this should be all good. Let's try to log the comments. And there is no comment, so we'll have to create one in the admin dashboard first. Let's choose the Medusa article and hit save. Yes, the comments were created. And if we go over here now and we open our terminal and we get an empty array. And this time we got an array that was not empty. Let me see if I can zoom in. Can I zoom in here? Yeah, and we see we get exactly the comment that we were expecting here. Let's unfold it. Yeah, it's from John, jd@email.com. So we are now successfully loading all the comments. Let's render them. So if we head back over here, and we now render a very simple list of comments, but you see here the TypeScript is not really happy. Let's import the type. And the nice thing when you add payload collection is that the types are automatically generated for you. So we just need to import it. Then we can add the type here. And I think there's an underscore here. There is not. All right, so now we should be rendering the comments to the web page rather than in the console. Let's see if that's the case. And we see the comment. It is not very pretty, but we'll add styling later. All right, I just realized that the video will become too long if I'm adding styling along the way. So off camera, I just added a bunch of classes to this component. So feel free to pause the video and add the same classes or style the component as you wish. But for now, I want to proceed with the task and add the actual input form. And for that, I'm going to create a new component just to keep the code simple. So I'll create a new file and I'll call it comment form. And we're going to import a bunch of stuff. All right, now we have all the components we need. Now I'll create the actual React components. And this one will also need the post ID. Let's import also useState. Name. I don't know why it's doing double quotes. I don't like double quotes. All right, now we have the state for the three input fields that we have, the name of the author, the email of the author, and the content of the comment itself. One more important thing we need to do is to add use client at the top of the file. And this is because this component is a client-side component that manages state in the browser opposed to on the server. So this is necessary. Let's build the actual form. And it looks like Copilot is gonna be helpful today. So we have a name, email, and a comment text area, and we have a submit button. I think this is what we want. Now we have the form. Let's add it to the comment component. So we need to export it. And then we go back to our comment component, and then we add it after the comment section. And we need to import it. Like this, and I need to save this file. Let's head back. And we now have a comment form. But it shouldn't be working because we don't have any submit function. Let's try. I don't think this was the expected behavior. We don't see a comment if we go back to the admin dashboard and go to comments, and we still only see the comment from before. So we need to add a handle submit function that actually persists the comment to the database. So let's go back to VS Code, and we can start by adding an on submit. And just by defining the name of the function here that doesn't exist, this usually allows Copilot to guess how to make it. So let's try and see. It's async function. current default, response, API, comments, post. So this is mostly correct. Only thing is that it didn't know that we are using an author. But this should be correct. Let's hit save. And let's try to persist a comment again. All right, let's see if this comment was submitted. Let's refresh. And we indeed have a new comment here. All right, so there's a lot of things that we need to improve, and maybe I should explain you why this worked. So when you create a collection in Payload, API is auto-generated for CRUD operations. And this is currently just exposed to everyone. And in this example, we also do not want to put any authorization restriction on it. We will allow everyone to write a comment because we're handling whether it's shown or not on the website by an approval system. But if you have authentication implemented, you can add restriction to the endpoints, and you can do that on the collection configuration itself. So let's just add restriction for comment deletion. Though we don't have any user interface on the landing web page that allows us for deleting comments, but the API is still open. So if a visitor were to open up Postman and use the delete endpoint, they would be able to delete the comments just like that. So let's restrict that to administrators only. So we will add a new property here called access. And here are all the different options. And create, we just want to leave as true, but delete, we need to set for administrators only. And because we only have one user type, which is the administrators, we can just use authenticated, then we know it's an administrator. And it imported it automatically. For updating the comments, so that would be the approval. That will be the same, only administrators can do that. And for read, so the read is a little bit different because we don't need people to fetch it from the API. The comments are rendered on the server-side component on the page. So we can actually close the endpoint, the read endpoint, a little bit to only allow published items to load the comments. So let's do that. Authenticated or published. So now we have the access rights on the endpoint that we want. So update is only for authenticated users. So in this case, it will be administrators. But if you have also other user types in your system, you might need to create a more sophisticated access control so only administrators can do it. And for the read, we only allow the server-side component that are published to load the comments. All right, there's a few more things that we can do here to improve our comment collection. Some of these fields are required. So the content true, and this is mainly true for all of our fields. Let's just add is required true to all of these. Now we can also add some input validation. It doesn't really make sense to write a very short comment, for example. So let's add some validation to this. So I will add a validate, and it's a string function. And if the length is less than 10, then we return a little message saying that it has to be longer. And otherwise, we will return true. All right, the next thing we need to add is the is approved checkbox. So we'll add one more field to the collection. Then I'll also add a publish date. Give it a little bit of UI configuration. Set it in the sidebar. And the date picker will show day and time. And then we want to define a hook. And the hook's purpose is to automatically set the published date once it is approved. So we'll define a before change function. And we'll give it sibling data and value. Let's see here. And I think it's guessing it correctly. So if the sibling data is approved and there is no value, then we'll return a new date. I believe we do need to return value otherwise. All right, because I'm making changes to the data model of the collection, adding these fields, and I already have comments in my database, this can be a little bit tricky to migrate sometimes. So the easy way is to just delete the existing comments before applying the changes. So I'll open up my database editor, pgadmin. Find my payload database, my schema, tables, and we here have comments. And now they are deleted, so I can restart my server. All right, let's now try to add a new comment. Let's try to edit. And we see here we get an error. And if we expand the response, we see that the following fields are wrong. The content, and this is expected because we just added validation and I wrote a too short comment. So if I just add a little bit more and expand this one, then we should see only one error. And we did, and it is saying that we're missing post, and I think this is just a small mistake. So let's head back over to the application and find the form. So yeah, so in the request we are sending post ID, but it's expecting it to be on post. So we just changed that post and give it post ID, and this should be okay. Now I think we are good. Let's try to add the comment. Yeah, and we have a successful request. And it is probably already rendering, and we don't want that. We don't want them to allow that. So we need to filter out the comments based on the is approved boolean. Let's go back to the initial comment page, and we will change the lookup a little bit. And we'll add is approved equals true. Hit save. And we now see that comment that was just submitted before is now removed from the overview. And because this is happening on a server-side component, it never reaches it's never exposed in the API. So this is what we want. And if we go to our admin dashboard and we refresh the page, we see we have a long comment here. If we expand the comment and we want to approve it, and it has now been approved. Let's head back over to the page, and now the comment appeared. Okay, this video is getting too long, so I will pause the camera, and off camera I'll add some basic styling and a few UX improvements, and then I'll talk briefly about those, and that will conclude this implementation. All right, I've just added a little bit of styling so we get some spacing around the buttons and inline some of the input fields. Also, if we now submit a comment, that is too short, we'll actually see an error here. And when it's long, we'll get this nice response. I did this on the comment form by adding this set error and success. And I'm setting them from within the handle response function. And finally, I'm rendering it down here. And I'll make sure to leave a link to the Git repository in the video description. Another little thing that I did was in the comment collection, I've added description to the is approved, and I've also moved it over to the sidebar. I also added a little bit of admin configuration, so there's also now a description on the collection itself, and I'm listing all the columns that I want to show. So if we take a look at the admin dashboard, we will now see that the content shows up directly here in the UI instead of the ID as before. And if we go in here, we now have the is approved checkbox right here in the sidebar, which I think is a little bit more nice. Final step to do is to run migrations commands. So Payload will automatically generate a migration, so the new comment collection will be applied to our production database. To do that, you just write pm payload migrate create, hit enter, and let Payload do the rest of the job. It is now done, and we can see here it created the migration file where it is creating the query for creating the new table. It also added it to the index file. Now the only thing left for me to do is to push the changes to my Git repository so you can find it, and I will also update the Railway deploy template, so anyone using the Railway deploy template from now on will automatically have the comment system implemented. Git status, review all the changes. Finally git push. That is all for now, and once again there will be links to this blog post in the video description. Have a nice day.